They say friends are the family you choose, and I think I chose this one right. In today's video, I sit down and have a conversation with a friend of mine, Lois. We have been friends for 15 years, and what a beautiful journey. I am excited to bring her. You learn how we met. What are the pillars of friendship? Some tools that you can take along in your friendships. And guess what? I too learn how to make new friends, because you know what? It's hard for me. But Lois is a well of wisdom, and you don't want to miss this. See you on the other side. So we're finally here. Welcome. How many months in the making?
Possibly a year.
We've been saying we should do this for a year. Yeah. I'm so glad that we finally found some time to do this. So
Thank
how are
you.
you
Thank
feeling?
you for having me.
I'm
excited to be here.
Yeah. Hello. I have a bit of nerves though. Like, we're sharing. You know how when you have something special and you want to keep it to yourself, and then you also know that if you share it, it might be helpful. So you have a bit of nerves where you're like, oh, how is it going to be judged? So yeah, I have a bit of nerves from that front, but I'm excited to be doing this. So straight into the icebreaker. Number one, what was the last song you listened to?
It was Exile. A song by Exile. It came up on the radio, and it just took me back to in time, and it was and I just turned on the volume and was just
vibing to it. Yeah, that was a good song. That was a good album.
Yeah.
If you were a season, which one would you be?
I would pick a season we have here in Zambia.
Yeah.
That's the rainy season.
Yeah.
I would be the rainy season because it's a combination of things.
Yeah.
Sometimes the sun comes out.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's hot.
Yeah.
Sometimes you enjoy the rain. Sometimes it's an inconvenience. So it's a mixed bag. I think it just represents life.
True.
The reality of life that, you know, one day the rain will be something you enjoy. And then other times you don't want the rain.
Yeah.
And then, the sun comes out.
Yeah.
And, and just, I think that the fact that there's growth, what happens after the rain as well. So I would want to be the rainy season.
I like that. In thinking about it, actually, it would be, I think I would place you there. When you explain it like that, a lot of the time when you think about the rain, you're thinking about the inconvenience of it. You can't move or whatever. But we're not thinking about the growth. We're not thinking about the fact, like you have said, it sort of embodies a lot of different other seasons within it, and it does describe life. I like that you put it like that. This is why we're friends. I like you. You're deep. Even before we get into it. I love it. So yeah, let's get into it. First, I like to ask you this question. How long have we been friends?
So this year marks 15 years of friendship.
Wow.
I can't remember exactly which month in 2008.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I just remember walking with you in October car park.
Yeah.
And we were with another classmate. I don't know what we were talking about, but that is etched in my memory.
As like the first
Yes.
time.
And funny enough, at the time I was dating my husband, Mark.
Yeah.
He was coming to pick me up. I don't know why.
I think I can fit them. I can fit those pieces. I remember the first time I saw you. It was in, I have a hard time making friends. I'll pass the opportunity anytime to make a new friend. I'm just like, no thanks. But I remember you from contract class, and you were making a presentation, and there was just a light about you. I had never seen you before. The time you stood in front was the first time, and I was always the wallflower. I sat in the second row, but right in the corner, and I was just like, this girl is so brilliant, and you are like everything I could never be. Calm, You were calm and you made your presentation and it was so clear. And I remember thinking to myself, I said, if no one is going to be my friend, that girl has to be my friend. And I went home and I told Nanji, I said, I saw a girl in my class and she's going to be my friend. And I don't remember how
we became friends, right?
Yes.
I don't remember how it began.
Yes. The time you and Mark were when we met in the car park, I remember what was happening. We were going to the mall, either Arcades or Manda Hill at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I needed a ride, and you said, oh, no worries. We're going to pick up some things for a friend of mine. I think someone had just had a baby or was expecting, and you were buying stuff for that particular friend. Mm-hmm. And said, let's ride together. That's how we met. And everything else in between is just
a blur.
But that was the first for me. The first time
it's nice that at least we both remember when, and we can't remember what month that was.
No, I don't remember. But it was. I think it was. No,
it was in the
it was towards Christmas.
Second half of.
Yeah, it was the second half of the year.
Yeah,
it was towards Christmas. We're just about to close. Also, if we just hadn't closed that time.
But we had become friends before then.
Yeah, and I had started talking.
Yes, we had started talking. I don't know why that memory is particularly etched in
both of us.
Yes.
But for me, you of all my friends, you're the most intentional. To this day, the only one who I'm like, that girl has to be my friend. I think with you, I was just very intentional, and it turned out well.
It was written in the stars.
It was written in the stars, and I have to say, the last 15 years have gone by. I can't even believe it's been all that long. Mm-hmm. What would you say? Because we're very different. Like I had even started from the beginning. We could, two people could not be any more different.
Yep.
What would you say if you think about our friendship that we have in common?
I think the very first thing is our faith.
Definitely.
I think that's a very central thing to. I think when we started talking.
Yeah.
I think the one thing that in the first conversations, I'm not sure, but you mentioned having been Baptist.
Yeah.
And I think you talked about your church.
Yeah.
And I have a soft spot for Baptist.
You have your roots there.
Yeah. Yes. And so that was like, you know.
That was a common point.
It was a common point. Yeah. And so so it was the common experiences as well. Yeah. I remember late 2008, we were studying, or was it could have been early 2009. We were up writing a supplementary exam. And I think the disappointment of having to write a supplementary exam was something we shared.
Yeah.
And it was a season that we kind of pulled through together. It was unexpected. It was family law. That was the courses. It was just like, okay,
seriously,
yeah. Like where were you guys? What happened?
Yeah.
And there were very few of us that had to. Yeah, so that was
do it. It was a shocker.
It was a shocker. It was like I thought I was smart. Also, I just remember, I think for me, I'm drawn to people with whom I can have deep conversations and it is not forced.
Yeah.
Like conversation just flows. Yeah. For me, that is one of the bedrocks of a friendship.
Yeah.
To not have to try. To be able to think about anything, the most random of things, and strike a conversation out of that. And the conversation develops into all sorts of things. And so I think that was something that from the beginning we have always been able to talk about anything really, good or bad, ugly.
We go there.
And there's always just been this honesty and this knowledge that there's no front here. Yeah. It's not
this
fake.
Is just me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because you are a what you see is what you get person. I if anyone ever called you fake, I would be like, no.
I'll just tell you what I'm thinking. I'm just this is not working, and I'll just.
So I'm drawn to just genuine people who just show you who they are, and so that's what I've loved about the conversations they've always been deep, always been real and unforced.
Yeah.
I think it's a
flow.
Yes.
And one of my favorite conversations that we used to have early on in our friendship was when Manda Hill was being constructed. You remember?
Yes.
We had that conversation, I think 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
We would pass and it's still under construction. It's a mess. And we'll always say, isn't that how our lives are in the hands of God?
Work in progress.
A work in progress. You always say that. And for me, that was such, I don't know how deeply it worked on you, but for me, even looking at Manda Hill now, that's not what we see is not even the first structure it was. It has evolved 2 or 3 times, but it was those kinds of conversations where you're not even thinking about it, but you look at something and for you there is a lesson behind it, and I really valued that.
And when you think about it, our whole friendship has been witnessing each other's works in progress and supporting the work in progress and getting through the messy times. And looking back over 15 years, there's been so much progress. So much work. Yeah, and lots of having to break down and build up again of perspectives, ideas. And I think having shared the different seasons has really deepened
the relationship.
Yes,
because we've evolved in you've gone through different seasons than I have,
and at different phases.
And I know a lot of friendships that have, even some of my own, that have gone through the same seasons this relationship has gone through, and the relationships have failed in those transitions. But like you said rightly, our faith has always been the anchor. And I think also one thing we have in common, now that I think about it, I think we've been very intentional about this relationship. It's like, hey, it's been like a week or 2. We need to touch
okay?
Like, what's happening with you?
Yeah.
So and I'm just thinking about it now. Have we ever, except the law school drama, have we ever gone through like a difficult time at the same time? It's like God has structured it in a way
that one is going through a difficult season, and the other one is a support and just sort of helping through a shoulder to cry on. And then, there's been sort of an exchange.
Yeah, I think that has helped. We've never had to be like beat up at the same time.
Not quite.
Not quite. When we're beat up at the same time, it's not something that is in a very different season than your friend. It's like, okay, school is
I know, school was just...
Yeah, and sometimes that's what helps, going through the same thing at the same time.
Yeah. But we've had very different seasons. We've even had a year apart where we didn't get to see each other, and that was something. I missed your wedding. I was heartbroken. I was so emotional.
We had so many plans. Yeah. How long were you married at the time I was getting married?
Almost 7 years.
7, not 5, 7.
Yeah.
It was a long time. You were entering your year of perfection, and I was entering the season.
Yeah.
Talk me through the transition of being a friend to a single person. What was that like for you? You got married early.
Yeah.
A lot of us were still single at the time. Talk me through what you were going through as it pertains to friendship. What was that like for you?
I think it was sort of a reframing of friendships and trying to understand. Of course, you're told when you get married, there's this perception that you have to let go of your single friends.
Yeah.
And so as you're going through these changes and you're adapting in the early weeks, months, and years, you have to decide for yourself what you will take and what you won't take.
Yeah.
And for me, at that point, our friendship was so valuable that I couldn't imagine, what
would that look like?
Yes, what would that look like? And so I think, there was no question of, am I cutting off Bupe or not? No, that never crossed my mind. It was just, okay, what can I share? What can I not share? What should I be careful with? And it was just putting the boundaries with the marriage and what, just putting this hedge around the marriage. But the friendship itself flowed effortlessly. And I remember how much of a support you were in the first months, which were actually quite hard for me. And I felt very isolated because it felt like a lot of people fell away when I, crossed over to the other side. And I was the only one of all of my friends. It felt like some walls went up. And I think that you were the only person who held my hand, even though you couldn't fully grasp what was going on in my world. And I remember how from the very beginning you have always been in my husband's corner. There would be days, would be at Ziale and I'm so mad at him. And you were that person who would remind me, like, no. See, remember the guy you married. And so for me, I think the transition was not bumpy, or it kind of just flowed. Like there's this grace we have had for each other's seasons, and so you just made room for this new season. You knew you would have less of me, but you graciously just made room. Even when the kids started to come, you opened up your heart and made room. I remember the days we would be studying with a baby.
He would cry.
And you would stop. You would wait. You would wait for me to feed him or to change him. For me, I felt so accepted, loved, because, this was a new season for me. I didn't know what I was doing, to be honest. I had no clue.
You were
yes,
young. I mean, it's different for me getting married in my 30s. I witnessed what you went through. So I had the opportunity to glean and to learn how to work. But you were just starting from scratch. So you were thrown
straight from uni, straight into marriage and then a baby while doing Ziali. It was something. But you were such a pillar during that time. And I'm grateful for how you have navigated the seasons of life with me. They've never affected our friendship.
No, they haven't. I mean, I definitely had anxieties because by the time you were getting married, we were, I think, maybe 3-4 years in, right? And there's no telling if that's a lifetime of friendship, right? So I'm thinking, now she's married, what if her husband won't accommodate me, right? And I think that's what made it easy for me to make the room. From your perspective, you're like, oh, she's making room. But it's like, okay, I'm treading carefully and I'm trying to see, okay, how much room do I have here, right? Because obviously, we are in the culture, like you said, that talks about friends who are married shouldn't be friends with people who are single, right? But how do you move from just having all single friends to having no friends at all, right? But also, and we had talked about it, like, some of these traditions, but the talking of it is quite different from the actually practice of it. What if you and I, from our Christian backgrounds, we know how important submission is. So we both knew, even if we didn't talk about it, we both knew if Mark had said no more single friends, we both were ready to submit to that, right? And thankfully he did not demand that. So
thankfully he was
and he was just like, you need to have your own.
And I'm so grateful for that, because it helped my transition into this very new season of life that I felt unprepared for, in all honesty. And so the landing, I feel like he cushioned the landing by not taking away everything that was familiar to me. And I think that he has always known the importance of our friendship and what it means to me. So it's not something that he would ever want to take away in the way of, and he sees the value that you bring, to my life. And so it was never a question of, he was there even, before the wedding, and you were such a great support in that season, and you were always there. You were that friend, when we had to travel and they were, Bupe, they're bringing plates and whatnot. Let's go. So I think that helped with the transition. I mean, you sat with me when we, it was a sort of nerve-wracking experience, and you were there dressed in a chitenge with me. And so I think even that transition, you being there, throughout the process, was easier. We landed into this new season and you were still part of the process. And for me, I think I always knew, like, it's just a matter of time. You're going to get into this season as well. So why would we want to spoil a friendship?
You had to dry. While waiting for that season to come.
Yes.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah. There have been seasons. And when you did meet your husband, that was a beautiful season.
Yeah.
The before, the during, when it was finally clear this was the one. Yes.
Yeah.
I remember conversations, long
We've had so
conversations. And I remember
we had so many conversations.
Yes. And I remember the decision-making process, and I remember how you were so committed to holding to your values, even when there were people that came and said your standards were too high.
Yeah. Oh,
yes.
We'll talk about that. Yeah.
And for me, because you and I, we share the same heart.
And you were
values.
the only, and yes, Lois, I'm so glad you bring that up, and I'm so sorry to cut you short. You hear how you are saying the transition was made smoother because you had the friend who stood by you. You were the one friend I could always come. I had heard you are growing older, just wait, even if it's someone who's divorced. And I had and I kept saying, look, I can marry a man if he's divorced and has kids. My question is, where is he at in his faith? What does he understand about marriage? And a lot of people didn't believe me. Everyone just thought you just want a Baptist man. And I would always come back. And there's nothing wrong with that. You always got me, like, if I get it, like, it's a bonus for me if I marry a Baptist man, because our belief systems match, right? Because our belief systems match.
Sorry, that's my youngest son,
and he's always welcome to
and he's trying to get in.
Yeah, should we let him come? Come, Chawezi, open the door for him.
So this is the room that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Whoopen has always had room for the chaos in my life and whatever season I'm in. So this is my youngest son, Chawezi.
He's just like, what's going on here? Don't stress me in life, please.
Can you see yourself?
Do you see Chawezi? He's just like, what's going on?
I know.
I could always come to you, and you, when I say something, you understood. Everyone took what I was looking for out of context. And when I felt like, you know what, maybe she's right, like when maybe the other people are right, I always knew I could come back to center with you and ask you, like, Lois, should I say? There were some relationships where you are just like, nah, fam, that's shady. That was not the one. In fact, one of our fights was when I had told you about I had told you about a guy, and then you shared with Mark, and then I was like, but I didn't want you to tell Mark.
Yeah.
And you were just like, but no, Ma, you
need another
perspective to this. And yeah, that wasn't the one.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean, where I could just come to you and tell you that, and you were like, no, but if you don't want me to share something with Mark, then don't tell me something. And that goes to boundaries also in a friendship, where, look, boundaries are not to keep you out. They are to keep you in. I still want you to be my friend, but for this to work, it means, okay, check what you want me, not what you want, what you are comfortable with me sharing, and what you are not.
Yeah.
And even for me, okay, I still want this person. She's valuable to me, so I will check what I need to say, because I'm not throwing out the baby with the bath water.
Yeah.
And it's not like, I'm telling someone who wants to stab me or doesn't want what's best for me.
Yeah.
So yeah. Talk me through boundaries. You are a very nice person. You are going to try, which is something I'm not. You're going to try and work through relationships until you get to a point where you're like, and when you're done, you're done. You're that guy. Talk me through what boundaries in friendships mean to you. And it doesn't have to be something that you practice, but maybe something that you think, when you look back, what would you tell someone about setting boundaries in relationships, in friendships specifically?
I think for me, that's something that I have been learning. I tend to just love people and open my heart, and I have a very tender heart.
You do.
And not everyone can love you back to the same extent. And so you have to learn to what extent you can give your heart and love, certain people. So in the early stages of a friendship, before you have established where this friendship is going, or even just the level of commitment the other person has, you have to guard your heart. I think I've been heartbroken many times in friendships.
Friendship breakups hurt.
Yes, they hurt. And you've shared a lot of things with this person, and they were not where you thought they would be. I think I've always had this posture of being willing to make new friends. Every new face could be a potential friend. And you kind of, you give your...
You have an open heart towards friendship.
And I'm still making friends. And it's been quite a journey learning to hold back sometimes. That's something I've had to learn. And it's something I think I've had to practice, especially of late. And also just learning that in the season of life that I'm in, it's very difficult to maintain so many friendships. I'm juggling so many things. So it's a difficult season to invest completely in friendships. So boundaries for me are giving priority to the things that are most important to me, and knowing that the people who are my friends will understand. If I haven't called for 2 weeks because I'm going through something crazy, the kids have been sick and work has been hectic, the people in my life that know me, that know my heart, they won't question my commitment to them, because they know that life happens. And I think that I've always been the friend that has juggled more from the beginning, because I married early. So I was always juggling so many things. And even now, still juggling so many things. I mean, 4 kids, there are times all 4 get sick at the same time.
I remember last year. Oh, man.
And then it's just one thing after another. But, I've learned to pick which friends will understand this season and they stay. And then there's those that just can't, like, I can't put up with your busyness and all the stuff in your world. I'm done. I'm going to the friends who will give me more attention. You can't, give me the attention I want, so I'm out. So
quality over quantity when it comes to friends. I know you're open to friendship, but quality over quantity for you, like, would you say more quality?
I have learned in this season that quality is just, there are times that I will have a conversation with you and not speak to you for 2 weeks. But that conversation, that one conversation, we may not have to talk every single day. We do check in once in a while, text
every so often. We're just like, let's touch base, girl, what's going on.
But to have a deep conversation, it's not always possible. Because sometimes I'm free and you're busy and you're traveling and you're on the road, and it's just like, So it's I would say quality over quantity, although my natural disposition is for quantity. But I think growing and being realistic and just having experienced life, I am now a quality
person
over quantity person.
I've always been a quality over quantity person. So in many stages of my life, you'll find that I'm probably close to one person. Every time I look back in high school, I had one friend and I was really close to her. I went to university. Naji was my friend, right? And then, because obviously she was far away from me, then I found another friend that I could be close to. But also, even then, you could associate me to either 1, 2, 3, or 4 people. But I've never been like a friend for the masses.
No, not quite. And I remember in law school, you had a very different story from the rest of us.
Yeah.
And you kept to yourself a lot. And I remember, starting when I first started to chat with you and you'd be telling us your story, you didn't have a gap year like the rest of us. Yours was pretty interesting and fun. And I remember thinking, oh wow, she's lived a lot in these few years. She's done so much
already.
Yes. And that's just, how different we are, that you have always just been this, I call you a busybody.
I live in my head a lot.
Yes.
I live in my head a lot. And and also the reason why I struggle with making a lot of friends or having it, why you see that I'll nurture this friendship, because look, I'm not going to find anyone else. So can we just make this work? Is because I live in my head a lot, and because I have all these grand ideas, if I share to someone who doesn't understand, like I've told you, I struggle with vulnerability. So if someone just puts a pin in my balloon, that's it, it's gone. So I'm very protective of my friendships. There's things I share with you that I don't share with other people, because I know you're just like, but whoop, but you're willing to.
And speaking of grand ideas, I think we also meet there because I am an idealist, and yes, we love to dream. So we're very different, but we're very much alike, because it's very hard to connect sometimes with people who can't imagine like you. We imagine the future. We always have. I remember you on the vision boards, and I was like, here's someone after my own heart. I wouldn't always put them on paper, but you are so expressive about what you wanted for the future. And that was like, a reflection of my heart.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
True.
And so the grand ideas have always been welcome. The high and lofty plans and ideals. We've always had a meeting of the minds when it comes to,
I mean, even just doing this, even before sitting down to have this conversation, we had lots and lots of conversations around. When we sit down to do this, we had to really talk about the why. Are we just going to sit to have a conversation?
There has to be purpose.
Like why are we doing it? We are those people.
And then what?
Yeah, and then so we have a conversation, and then what? Yeah. And I value that about our friendship, because we always put things in perspective.
And we're very purposeful
people.
Everything should have a purpose.
Yeah.
And
thank you. Yeah. I think it went well. I'm happy.